Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is the third chapter of Cliffhanger, the serial talk show, with me, your host, Kendall Fontenot, and my co-host, Mr. Patrick Bennett.
Hey,
how's it going, Patrick?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Are you ready to talk about the Green Hornet?
The Green Hornet. Not to be confused with the Brown Hornet from the Fat Albert and Cosby Kids, you know. All right, man.
Definitely not to be mistaken for the Seth Rogen version.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's a vulgar word here. You can't say that name. So, all right, man, we're going to jump right into it. The Green Hornet, unlike some of these other heroes that serials are made of, the Green Hornet's a little different because he didn't start as a comic strip or a comic book. He started as a radio program, and it was made for station KXYZ out of Detroit. And the character of the Green Hornet was created by George Trendle and Fran Stryker. And this was back in 1936. So he went on the radio with his serial adventures there, which, man, I can't imagine a kid back then not having TV, you know, and having to listen to radio programs. But I'm sure the imagination took over, and I'm sure the audiences loved that stuff, just ate it up. You
know? He hunts the biggest of all game, public enemies that even the G-men cannot reach, the Green Hornet.
Yeah, well, I've seen pictures like Norman Rockwell
like
paintings of people sitting around the radio.
Right.
Yeah, Fran Stryker also created the Lone Ranger, and
that same station. It was created for the Lone Ranger.
Sergeant Preston of the Yukon Territory. That was another one that Fran Stryker created.
And speaking of them creating both the Lone Ranger and the Green Hornet, on the radio version, they had the two characters were kin to each other. If you remember, I'm trying to think what it was. Britt Reed he's the grand nephew of John Reed, who was the Lone Ranger. So
okay, well that makes sense.
But they never mentioned that in the serials. I think that was just the radio thing. But I know later in comic books by Dynamite, they had a team up of the Green Hornet and the Lone Ranger in comics. So, but we're not.
Yeah, they teamed up quite a bit, if I remember correctly, in the comic books. Yeah. And the radio program, something that I don't know if we're going to go into it very deep, but Ann Nagel, who plays Miss Case in the Green Hornet, the Green Hornet and the Green Hornet Strikes Again, both serials. She's the secretary for the Green Hornet. She's the secretary for Britt Reed. She actually voiced Miss Case on the radio program as well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the radio program, the Green Hornet was voiced by Al Hodge. And as far as the Green Hornet, the character, let's talk about who he was. You want to talk about Britt Reed?
Okay.
What he did?
Yep, we can talk about Britt Reed. Britt Reed was heir to the Sentinel, a newspaper that his father was the managing editor of until he passed away. They don't cover how he passed away in the serials, if I remember correctly. They don't cover that. But Britt Reed he's sort of like Bruce Wayne. He's not as rich as Bruce Wayne. He doesn't have the fighting capability of Bruce Wayne, but he's got the Black Beauty. He's got his car. This is the Black Beauty. He's got Kato, which Kato to me, at least in the serials, in the TV series, Kato, and in the Seth Rogen film, Kato was the muscle. He did all the fighting and stuff. Yeah. But in the serials and in the radio program, he designed most of the stuff that Britt used. He used the gas gun, the Black Beauty, anything that Britt would use as the Green Hornet, the Kato would create. And Kato didn't do as much fighting. He did a little bit of fighting, but not nearly as much as later versions of the character would.
Yeah.
And, but the Green Hornet, he doesn't have a love interest. in the serials. He doesn't have any solid love interest, and he's a racketeer buster.
Right.
He's a racket buster. And
well, okay, let's talk about the serials. Let's move on to 1940. Universal Pictures made a 13-chapter serial called The Green Hornet. So this is the first time these kids, they love the radio show, and their hero is going to be seen for the first time on the big screen in live action. Imagine how exciting that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just to see any hero on the screen, but yeah. Green Hornet, because he's the Green Hornet, and his voice would change a little bit whenever he'd put that mask on, and he had the Black Beauty. You actually got to see Black Beauty, whereas before on the radio, I'm assuming all they did was hear the buzzing sound as
right. the drone
Beauty,
of the Hornet.
Yeah, wherever the Black Beauty was riding to, that's all they heard. They didn't get to see it.
Right.
To finally get to see it on the screen. To me, if I was a kid, that probably would have been the coolest thing to me, would be to see the Black Beauty cruising down the highway at crazy speeds. Yeah, that.
Okay, so who did they pick, the studio, to play the Green Hornet on the big screen?
Originally, for the first serial, it was Gordon Jones.
Gordon Jones. And
he actually would go on to be part of Abbott and Costello's comedy shows. He did a film with them. He did a film and a TV series with them, and he was Mike the Cop in one of them, and the other one he was I got it written down here because I can't remember, Jake Frame. But he was a heavy, because this was when he was older, and he had bulked up a little bit, and so he played the tough guy, basically. He was also involved prior to the Green Hornet and after the Green Hornet. He would do westerns. He did a lot of westerns, and he got involved with John Wayne. And he did a lot of films as a secondary character most of the time with John Wayne. Cool. And he did a really good job. And then later on, you had Warren Hull in the Green Hornet Strikes Again in 1941. And Warren Hull was probably better known as the Spider in the Spider serials. He played the Spider in the Spider's Web and the Spider Returns. And he came along for the second one. To me, his character was a little more polished than Gordon Jones's character. He was more of a playboy type, the Britt Reed version at least. Gordon Jones's Britt Reed, he always seemed to, at least to me, when you'd watch him on the screen, it's like he always knew that there was an inside joke, especially with Michael Axford, his bodyguard, the guy who was supposed to take care of him, who always was bumbling around and would get captured. He was really, in my opinion, the damsel in distress in the Green Hornet movies, because there really wasn't a damsel in distress in any of those. That was, to me, something that separates the Green Hornet from these other serials. You almost always had in a serial a damsel or a love interest.
Yeah.
And she would always get in trouble, and the hero would have to save her. With the Green Hornet, though, it was really a straight serial where he was busting up rackets. I mean, you had a laundry racket, the bus transportation racket. There was a mining racket in the first episode, the first chapter of the Green Hornet.
And unlike a lot of serials that people have seen up to this, the episodes of this serial were kind of like standalone chapters. You didn't, they didn't continue like the other serials did.
Yeah, you
could in both of the Green Hornet series.
Yeah, you could plop somebody down in the middle, in chapter 8, and they could pick the story up right away. The only thing I know with the first one, it was you had, of course, they had addressed him as the chief in both serials. It was two different characters, but there was no like sinister leader of everyone. It's just the chief. And in the first one, I think the guy's name was Monroe. And Monroe's in the series the entire time. And then in the second one, they didn't really reveal the chief until later on in the serial. But they're essentially the same stories. Yeah. It's just different racketeering schemes that he's busting up in both of the serials.
I want to mention, Gordon Jones played the Green Hornet, but when he put the mask on and became the Hornet, they dubbed the voice, and it was what's Hodge, Al Hodge from the radio program was doing the voice, which I thought was pretty ingenious because here you have a ready-made audience that's used to that voice, hearing it, you know, every week on the radio, and now that voice is coming through again on the serial. I thought that was really cool, but they didn't do it for the second serial, just the first. I like that. And let's talk about the Green Hornet's faithful sidekick in the first serial.
Kato was played by Key Luke in both serials, and if you were a child of the 80s, you've seen Key Luke. If you were a child of the 70s, you've seen Key Luke. I mean, he was, and probably the 60s too. I mean, he was kind of an everyman. He played characters. He was in Kung Fu.
Right.
He was Master Po in Kung Fu. He played in Gremlins. I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was the grandfather at the beginning who sells
the Mogwai in the cage to the boys.
Sells Mogwai to Billy's dad.
Yeah.
And
he was also in the Charlie Chan. He was the number one son.
And he also played Brack on Space Ghost. He voiced Brack on Space Ghost.
Yeah, he's been around. He had a pretty good career. He
did, and he was one of the first prominent Asian actors in the United States. He was also in Enter the Dragon, and let me see, I gotta find it. And I have a reason.
What was he?
He was the voice of Mr. Han. Key Luke was the voice of Mr. Han in Enter the Dragon, which starred Bruce Lee. And Bruce Lee would eventually play Kato, or perhaps he did, because I don't remember if Enter the Dragon came out before Green Hornet. It probably came out after Green Hornet.
I think so. Enter the Dragon was later.
So you had Kato and Kato in a film together.
That's nice.
I thought that was pretty cool.
About that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And Key Luke was also a founding member of SAG, the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh.
I mean, his career, you could probably do an entire show just on Key Luke, with all of the accomplishments that he's had, or that he had over his career. I mean, he did a ton of things. And then you also had, I want to bring up Philip Trent, who played Jasper Jinx.
Right.
In the first serial. He was one of the reporters for the Sentinel. And I thought he did a brilliant job. He was funny. He played well off, especially he played well off of Axford, who was played by Wade, I guess you should say it, Bottler. Wade Bottler played Michael Axford. And I thought Trent just did a great job of playing off of him. And he was another one. He was kind of like a damsel, if you had to pick somebody to be the damsel in distress, because I remember in the zoo scene, him and Axford get in a big fight at the zoo, and they knock over the popcorn stand, and it burns down the whole zoo. But they would get into trouble quite a bit, and the Green Hornet would end up saving them. And poor Axford was the butt of all the jokes in both serials, not just the first one. They were constantly picking at him. Everyone picked at him. And finally, at the end of the Green Hornet Strikes Again, he got an honorary police commissioner's badge given to him by Britt Reed when he says, "No, I don't deserve this. These guys do."
You know, I thought it was kind of funny in the serial. Like, some people knew who the Green Hornet was, but some people didn't. And they're like, "Who are you?" And instead of just saying, "I'm the Green Hornet," he pull out that little button and show it to him, the Green Hornet. I thought it was funny.
And I love the way
when you was a kid, just think like on the radio show, if you could send away and get one of those buttons, how excited you would have been to get that.
Yeah, all the kids wanted one of those, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they wanted that. And I thought it was kind of unique, too, about the character. Most heroes are clear-cut heroes. You know, like Batman, you knew he was a hero. Superman, he's a hero. Spy Smasher, all these guys, they were definitely heroes. But the Green Hornet worked to make it look as if he was a villain.
Right.
And because he knew that if he had the support of the people, then he would basically lose his power. and he had to be to come across as a bad guy in order to do what he needed to do to deal out justice to the bad guys. And to me, that's just another unique aspect of the serial and of the hero himself. You know, it separates the Green Hornet from all the other characters, because in a lot of cases in those serials, you can just swap heroes in and out, and it's the exact same hero, exact same type of hero in different situations. But with the Green Hornet, you had a guy actively working to look like a villain in order to stop other villains. He had no love interest, like I had mentioned already, and I just thought he was a really unique character for the time.
Definitely.
I guess you could argue that he was a hero.
Let's move on to the next year, 1941.
Okay.
So Universal decided to do a second serial, and we already mentioned it, but The Green Hornet Strikes Again. Another 13 chapters, but this time we already talked about him. Warren Hall played the Green Hornet. So I liked Warren Hall. He was all right, but I liked Gordon Jones a lot better as this character for some reason. Now, the second serial, I mean, like we said, Key Luke played Kato again, and you had a couple of characters from the Sentinel and the Bodyguard that came over to the second serial also. Yeah,
Wade Butler reprised his role as Axford, and Ann Nagel reprised her role as Miss Case, the secretary. Right. They both came back.
Right. And we had the Black Beauty again. I thought the serial was pretty fast-paced.
Yep.
You know, it didn't have a lot of drawn-out dialogue and stuff. It was cut up pretty good with the action sequences. And I liked that. It moved along. But like you said earlier, it was almost the same serial. It was just racketeering stuff, you know.
Right, and they just changed the locations. It was an electric company, an aluminum company, and then there was I can't remember the rest of them. But yeah. Oh, and there was an actress involved, and they had well, I take that back. She was the heir to this aluminum company, and they had an actress swap out with her. So she could have some private time or whatever, and that was really about the only thing different about it. It was still enjoyable, and I preferred Gordon Jones, but I liked the way Warren Hall made Britt Reed more of a playboy. I think I'd already said that he was more of a playboy with the role than Gordon Jones. Gordon Jones played him as more of a straight guy that everybody would like, you know, everybody could get along with. He was a good fellow. Warren Hall, he was still, you know, great man. He didn't goof around too much, but he was, I don't know, there was just something, he was classier. He came across as classier than Gordon Jones's character. And I don't know, for some reason, I just didn't like that as much as the Gordon Jones version. As far as when they were in the role of the Green Hornet, I almost said Green Lantern. When they were in the role of Green Hornet, they were basically the same. But like you said, you know, they dubbed in the voice of the original voice actor, and for the Green Hornet, and that meant something, because in the second one, when Warren Hall would say stuff, it didn't make as much of an impact as the Green Hornet as it was in the first serial.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed both of them, but I definitely preferred the first one.
Right. And like we said, it was almost the same thing. It felt like this was just a 26-chapter serial, you know?
Yeah.
It was drawn out.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
The costume differences, they pretty much looked the same, had the same style mask and hat, fedora, coat. But I noticed in the Warren Hall costume, it was a lot darker. The hat and coat was a lot darker than Gordon Jones wore.
And I don't know if it's just me, but to me it seemed like his mask had more of a point to it. It was more of a defined point to it than Gordon Jones. I don't know. That might just be me, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I picked up
it around his nose a little more or something.
Yeah. And they both serials had time bombs in them too. In the first one, they put it when the Hornet is trying to bust up the car theft racket, and they steal Britt Reed's car. They put a time bomb in it that's supposed to go off at 11 o'clock. And then in the second serial, in the Green Hornet Strikes Again, they used a time bomb, but it was in the finale, and it was in the safe. And even the finales, I don't want to ruin it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but all of the remaining racketeers end up together around a safe at the end for both serials. And I thought that was just kind of funny too. That the exact same situation is how they ended it. They were all together and they were all fighting over money in a safe. So that's just something else I picked up on. And you mentioned Flashman, one of the directors of the serials for because the Green Hornet was directed by Ford Beebe and Ray Taylor. And then Beebe returned for the Green Hornet Strikes Again with John Rawling. And I'll get to Rawling in a second. I got some tidbits about him that I dug up. But Ford Beebe directed Flash Gordon's Trip to Mars and Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe. And I know you're a Flash Gordon man, so I figured you'd like to know that. Ford Beebe, he directed Flash Gordon. And then John Rawling, he directed Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome and Dick Tracy's Dilemma, those serials. And it's kind of cool to see how they're all kind of tied together. I like that.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back for some more Cliffhanger, the Serial Talk Show. And when we do come back, we're going to have our friend Bill Necessary with us again, and we'll be talking about the Green Hornet costumes and the 1960s television series. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The incredible Black Beauty slices through the night with the Green Hornet and Kato at the wheel. Why is this man sought by those on both sides of the law?
That money means my life. I've got to get away.
Tell me who has the gun and your life is guaranteed. By me.
You have my word.
Let me warn you about the Green Hornet.
I could flood the world diamond market with your perfect imitations. I can make you millions.
He's not the two-bit kind of thug you're used to dealing with. He's clever and he's dangerous.
Master criminal or brilliant crime fighter? Who is the Green Hornet? The Green Hornet in color on ABC.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, coming to join us on Cliffhangers, the Serial Talk Show, is Bill Necessary. No, wait, that's not Bill Necessary. That's the Green Hornet. Hey, Green Hornet, how you doing?
I'm fine. Looking for lawbreakers wherever I can find them. Anybody seen Kato? He's got the car. Interesting. Kato started out as Japanese. Then he was Filipino. And then after the war, he became Korean.
Korean, okay. Yeah,
So,
we had mentioned something about that. I couldn't remember exactly. I didn't remember the Filipino part, but yeah, you're right.
During the war years, when the radio show was on, he was definitely a Filipino. Then he went, and then after World War II, all of a sudden he's Korean. It's just, can we settle for a nationality for the poor guy?
Hey, tell us about your costume. Did you make everything yourself?
The mask came from Etsy. The hat is a green fedora that came from eBay. But the thing that I did build was the gas gun. I don't know how well you can see it, but the gas gun was made from a Mauser air pistol, and these little gas canisters were canisters that had glitter in them, and I kind of took from my daughters and glued them on here, painted them silver, glued them on here with some little plastic tubing to make it look like the gas gun in the cereal.
Nice.
The Hornet seals I got off the internet and laminated them and put them on here.
Nice. Good job.
Okay. And the coat I wear is just a London fog coat that I got on eBay.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So, I think last time you told us this was your first costume when you started cosplaying.
When I first started serial cosplaying, it was this one, and then first it was the TV one, the Van Williams Green Hornet. But I like this mask better. I just like the look of this.
Yeah, me too.
Plus in the COVID, this is much better for COVID. I mean,
Nice.
And the cereal, yes.
Well, I was going to ask you about the cereals.
Okay.
So which one did you like the best out of the two?
With the exception of Al Hodge, the radio Green Hornet, doing the voice of the Green Hornet in the first serial, I liked the second one better.
Really?
Yes, I did. I just liked it better. I thought it was more. I liked the pacing better in the second serial.
Yeah, we're talking about how quick that pacing was. That was nice.
It was just the first serial was good, and it gave audiences a visual of the Green Hornet that they would hear on the radio. They introduced us to to Britt, Kato, the Black Beauty, Michael chasing the Hornet, and but it was slow in parts, and Universal. That's probably, in my opinion, that's probably the best two serials Universal ever did. Republic was the king of the serials. Columbia, so-so, but Universal, they weren't all that great when it comes to serials. Except for the Green Hornet, I thought. And this serial was very faithful to the radio show. Republic, as much as I love seeing the Lone Ranger and Captain Marvel, they took liberties with Captain America. They took liberties with the source material. The Hornet serials didn't. They were spot on with the a radio show. Even in the radio show, when Britt and Kato would leave Britt's apartment and go to the secret garage that held the sleek, streamlined Black Beauty, secret car of the Green Hornet. They always described him going through the back of a chest of drawers and going in. It was right out of the radio show, the way they went to the Black Beauty. So it was perfect.
Yeah, we're talking about how cool that was for them to use Al Hodge's voice as in the first
because
season.
He had that very distinctive voice as the Hornet.
Right. And people watching people listening to that radio show for years were already built-in fans when it came to the big screen. And to hear that same voice they've been hearing for years, that should have been, a pretty incredible experience for them.
That was a plus for the serial, and it brought in the audience. Yeah. One thing that I think Universal learned was that Republic did the Lone Ranger from the radio show, but they took too many liberties. Universal took the Green Hornet, right from the radio, and including the voice of the Green Hornet, and put it right in. So it's like audiences were actually seeing what they were listening to.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And also, Ann Nagel is Miss Case.
Yes.
The radio program as well.
Yes. Ann Nagel as Casey. As Case. Yep. Miss Case.
Yep.
Hey, Kendall was mentioning about the opening credit, the crawl coming up, just like on Star Wars. It was at that angle.
Well, that's what Lucas took that, and
Is that where
and especially when you watch the Green Hornet each episode, chapter 3, in the crawl, we saw that in Star Wars. Lucas took that.
Exactly.
Watch Indiana Jones, right? The first Indiana Jones movie when he's going under, in that scene where he's under the truck. That's right out of Zorro. Zorro's fighting Legion.
Yeah.
So they really give homage to the serials in those films.
You can tell, yeah.
Yes, you can. You can.
You got anything else you want to talk about as far as the serials go? Anything that jumped out at you?
You know, the Green Hornet was also in comics at that time, right? But the Green Hornet's look, the mask was like what we wear now outside. You know, the surgeon's mask with the Hornet symbol on it. It didn't look as cool as this. I mean, this really is a good looking mask. Yeah. Perfect for a serial. Yeah. And this is the mask they use now in the comics, in the recent comics. So I think that's really cool that this is an enduring look. It's funny, in the comics with Kato, he's wearing the Bruce Lee mask that you know, the 66 Bruce Lee wore, not the goggles that Key Luke wore. And imagine that's Key Luke, Charlie Chan's #1 son, and later, you know, the master in Kung Fu. And he's Kato. What a gifted character actor that man was. Mm-hmm. Wonderful actor.
Yeah, we were talking about him earlier, how his career, I mean, he never stopped. His career was so long, and he was always working. And
he's in Star Trek?
Yeah, he was a founding member of the SAG. Yes. I mean, he's just all sorts of stuff.
And it was actors like him and Jay Silverheels who made sure that people of their ethnic group would be properly represented in film and get jobs.
Yeah.
You know, Silverheels being a Navajo, and you know, a full-blooded Navajo, and he helped open the door for Native Americans to get work, just like Key Luke opened the door for Asians, even though they were still using Anglo actors with makeup, but you know, he was there. So you got to love Key Luke.
Well, Bill, let's move on to the Green Hornet TV series in the 60s.
Okay.
I know you know a lot about it, so we want to talk to you while you're on here about it. First, let me ask you, I'm not sure, I saw the episodes years ago, haven't watched them in a long time, but how many series did that run for?
Ran for one season, 24 episodes.
Just one season, okay.
One season, and it was produced by William Dozer, who produced the Batman TV series.
Right. I remember some of the crossovers.
The first time was a window crawl, when Batman and Robin were going up a window, and the Green Hornet and Kato popped out of the window and said they were in town. You know, watch our show. And then the second episode was an episode of Batman, a two-parter, where the Green Hornet comes to Gotham City.
The steamroller made them into, like, flatten them out.
Stamp,
made them
giant stamp.
Yeah.
Yes. And the problem with the Green Hornet, it was written to be a serious crime drama, whereas Batman was written for laughs. It was campy.
Yeah.
So the Hornet show was a well done 30-minute crime drama, but two things happened when the Hornet show came on in September of '66. When the Batman show was starting its second season, you know, Batman peaked in '66, and Batmania hit, you know, and everything was Batman in the stores, and Batman was a craze. The craze was starting to die down, and though Batman would go on for another season, people were losing their interest in superheroes. Plus, the Green Hornet had the unfortunate time slot of Thursday night in between Tarzan on NBC and Wild Wild West on CBS. So, guess what everybody was watching? Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate because the Green Hornet was, if you've ever seen him, the Green Hornet's not a bad show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It was really good.
I like the
Bruce Lee's
of the Black Beauty.
Oh, the Black Beauty was awesome in that show.
Is that a George Barris creation?
No, Walter Jeffries did the Black Beauty. But Barris built one of his own, but Walter Jeffries did the original Black Beauty. And the Black Beauty, the Black Beauty was cool for its time. You know, it had missiles. It had this scanner that would come out of the back, basically a drone. It would leak oil out of the bottom of the stop of the cars. It had green headlights, bulletproof. I mean, the Black Beauty was an awesome car.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of a Bondish James Bond kind of car.
So I noticed the mask. No, you already talked about you like the full face mask better than
I do.
the series.
I do. Of course, I like the full face mask, the Lone Ranger. And you know,
Yeah.
most Lone Ranger fans don't like that mask. I do. I like it better than the Domino mask. I'm thinking, you know, if you're going to disguise yourself, cover your whole face.
Yeah.
No.
And Bruce Lee is Kato. Man, they struck gold with that.
Oh, they did, because that was one time where the sidekick outshone the hero,
Right.
and that made Bruce Lee a star.
Now, Kendall brought up a point that Key Luke did a voice for, what was it, Han or somebody?
Yeah, he was Mr. Han, the voice of Mr. Han in Enter the Dragon.
He dubbed that. So you had two Katos together in that movie.
There. That's right. Both the Katos. You know, and there's only been, you know, there have been several Batmans, right? There have been several Lone Rangers. But Van Williams, Warren Hall, of course, well, we don't want to count Seth Rogen, but, you know. And the actor that played Kato in the Green Hornet debacle that came out a few years ago, he was good. But, you know, so there's only, you know, but when it comes to who's Kato, Bruce Lee always comes to mind. Bruce Lee. There was talk of doing a Green Hornet movie in the 90s, and they had looked at Clooney to be Britt Reed. But after Batman, he said, no, I'm not doing any more superhero movies. And Jackie Chan as Kato.
I could actually see Clooney playing that character.
I can too.
Now, Batman, it didn't work for Clooney, but definitely Britt Reed and Green Hornet, I could see him doing that.
Well, you know, I don't blame Clooney for that in Batman. I blame the late Joel Schumacher for trying to take the Batman, making Batman and Robin an updated version of the 60s campy TV show, and it didn't work. I thought Clooney looked good. I mean, as Bruce Wayne, you know, as a suave playboy Bruce Wayne. And in the cowl with the chin, he looked the part. It's just that poor guy, he had bad material to work with. You know, and he took responsibility. Clooney said at the end of it, after the film bombed, he said, I take responsibility for, killing the franchise, which he didn't. It was Schumacher, but, you know, and we didn't see Batman again until Christian Bale did his thing.
I would have liked to have seen Jet Li as Kato.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I love Jackie Chan, but I've seen him in so many comedies.
Right.
I would to me, Jet Li is and I'm probably wrong, but to me, Jet Li is a much more serious actor when it comes to martial art films. And I would love to see a serious Kato like that.
Funny you should say that, because before Jet Li started doing movies here, he did a series of films in Japan called Black Mask.
Yeah, the Black Mask series. Yep.
And it's Kato.
Yeah.
I mean, he's wearing the Kato outfit because, you know, over in Japan, when you talk about Green Hornet, no one looks at Van Williams. It's always Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Wasn't it called the Kato Show over there?
Yeah, and they did they put the first 4 episodes into a movie form. And, you know, back in those days, in the 60s, they would market, like, they would take episodes of TV shows and re-edit them and distribute them in theaters. They did it Green Hornet here, but over there it was basically Rise of the Dragon or something like that with it focused on Kato, which of course it would.
Kato and a guy in a green mask.
And a green mask, yeah. Kato and this guy, you know. So I think now somebody has bought the rights to do another Green Hornet film. I just hope that they have learned from the last problem. I think what they should do is go back and put it in the 30s, like the original, and set it then, like when they did the Phantom, and we talked about this, how that's an underrated movie, and they set it in the 30s. The Shadow, with Alec Baldwin's Shadow, was set during that time. I think they should do that with the Green Hornet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and not we've got enough modern heroes. We've got DC and Marvel, great, fantastic. But let's go back to the those thrilling days of yesteryear and do the Green Hornet that way.
Yeah, you're like a film noir version.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, man, that would be awesome. And I think a good way for newer audiences to get an idea of the heroic tradition that we know from, like the Cliffhangers, would be to set it that way. Instead of everything doesn't have to be modern day. Set it, make it a period piece. Heck, I like to see Batman done that way, or Superman.
Hey, let's talk about the comic books. Like over the last couple of decades, is it Dynamite that puts them out?
Yeah, Dynamite does them now.
I'll tell you, have you seen, I know we've given away some, thanks to Paper Heroes at the Calcasieu Serial Fest, some of the issues, but Matt Wagner, cover artist, he's done, like, my favorite one is called Green Hornet Year One.
Oh, yeah.
The first issue, he nailed that picture. He's he got the full mask. I would love to find a poster of that.
I would too. Yeah. I would too. And Matt Wagner did Zorro comics too, and his Zorro was good. And then he did some Batman for DC, and he does them well.
Green Arrow, Batman, yeah, a lot of good stuff. But that Green Hornet, man, he just
he nailed it.
Nailed it.
He nailed it. There's a new Green Hornet book. Well, it was supposed to be out this summer, but it may be delayed because of COVID. But the past Green Hornet books that Dynamite's done, most of them have been set, in the 40s. There was one called there was a Green Hornet Lone Ranger book,
right?
That movie producer, Michael Uslan wrote, and it's basically handing on the mantle from the Lone Ranger to the Green Hornet. Very well done book to tie the two together. But the new Green Hornet comic is set the seas, so it'll be Van Williams, which is, I'm looking forward to that. I'd like to see the Green Hornet TV series put on Blu-ray like they did Batman, but
yes,
Bruce Lee's estate is the big holdup in that. They've got the Green Hornet Incorporated, Trindle's estate. They've got them on board. They've got Van Williams on board. Greenway Productions, William Dozier, they're on board, but Bruce Lee's estate is a hold off, and so we haven't been able to get a really good, legitimate Green Hornet set. I mean, it would be the ideal box set, 24 episodes.
Yeah.
So you have to go to a convention or on eBay and get a bootleg set, which I might happen to have one, maybe.
I noticed in some of the comics over the last decade or two, in one of the series, they made Kato a female.
Yeah. The last series they had, basically, Britt Reed's son became the Green Hornet, and Kato's daughter became Kato. And she's the dominant character. Britt Jr., it was like this, basically, loser kid that just, college kid, as a party animal. His dad is dead. And so Kato, the original Kato, is like the Obi-Wan Kenobi mentor to his daughter and the new Green Hornet. Because the Hornet has to continue. The legacy has to continue. And it was an okay kind of series, but wasn't all that great. Now, when they did the sideline and did the Green Hornet Year One set in the 30s, that was a good series.
Yeah, that was my favorite so far out of all of them.
And then they did a Masks series. Alex Ross did the covers for this, where you had the Green Hornet, Doc Savage, the Shadow, basically
Spider,
all the pulp.
Spider, yeah, Spider was
The
there
Spider, Flash Gordon, and Don Diego de la Vega's grandson is the new Zorro. So you had, basically all of the pulp radio heroes as a forerunner to the Justice League kind of thing, which was kind of cool.
I found a fan film on YouTube. It was on Friday. I was looking around for some Green Hornet stuff. It's a fan film. I don't remember how recently it was made, but it's fairly recent. And it had the Green Hornet, it had Kato, and then Kato's sister. And she was out in the episode. It's a sex trafficking ring that they're bringing down. And Kato and the Green Hornet go in and they break up the sex traffickers. And the leader of the sex traffickers is a Russian woman. I can't remember her name, but she escapes. And the sister's sitting out in Black Beauty, and she goes after her. Well, she gets away. The Russian lady escapes, and Kato and the Green Hornet come out. And of course, Kato did all the dirty work. The Green Hornet might have knocked out 2 guys. And the sister, she had a bow and arrow. Well, she shot and missed the Russian lady. And so Kato comes out and kind of gets a dig in on her and tells her, you had one job and you failed. You needed to work harder on your bow. And they make some jokes. But it was a fairly well done production. It was a real slick looking production.
I haven't seen that one.
I just happened to stumble on it on Friday.
There's another one. It's I think it's French made film. It's Green Hornet and Kato, and basically it's 30 minutes of them kicking ass. And at the end, there's supposed to be a sequel, because at the end, the crime boss that they go after knows that Britt Reed is the Green Hornet, and then it ends. So some fan films are well made, some aren't. There was supposed to be an online Green Hornet show that was going to be that they started, and it was going to be it was being filmed in Chicago, and Chicago was going to be the city. The Green Hornet on radio, at least, it was always the city. They never said what the city was. Everybody just assumed it was Detroit, since that's where the radio show originated from. So in this series, it was going to be filmed in Chicago, which Comic Books went ahead and did that. And I think they did a pilot and had actors cast. And interestingly enough, guys, the gas gun was the classic radio gas gun. I mean, the serial gas gun. But whatever company was doing that god-awful Seth Rogen movie sent them a C&D letter saying, no, we're going to be the only Green Hornet out there. Which, look at what we got.
Yeah.
Which, I'm not bitter. No, not at all.
Well, Bill, I know you're a big toy collector. They ever put out some cool, besides the Captain Action figure with the costume for Green Hornet, they ever put out some cool Green Hornet toys?
Yeah. Give me a minute. I'll show you some. I'm glad you asked. All right. This was a set made by Medicom. It was in Japan. Notice who's the first on the box here. Kato, right? The Hornet's in the background. It's a 2-pack, and you get the Hornet and Kato. They're 8-inch figures, Mego sized.
Nice.
And the Hornet looks kind of Asian. And of course, Kato's looks kind of Asian, but that's probably the best Green Hornet toys that have come out after Captain Action. They brought back Captain Action in 1998. The original Captain Action figure did not have a Kato back in the day. They had Lone Ranger and Tonto, but no Kato. They rectified that when they brought him back, and they did Kato. So there is a Green Hornet and a Kato. And Funko Pop figures. There's a pop figure for everything. There's a Green Hornet and Kato pop figure too. Mego's back, and a bunch of fans are trying to get Mego to do a Green Hornet. I'm all for it, but I want him to do the 40s Green Hornet. I want that mask on an action figure.
Oh yeah, I've seen some customs on eBay.
I know. I've seen them too. Yeah. There's a company called Cereal Box. They spell it Serial Box, and they make custom heads. And they've got a Hornet head they got both Hornet heads with this mask and the other mask.
Nice,
but they're kind of expensive. So, there's still a fan base out there for the Green Hornet, which I'm glad of.
Well, everyone, that's it for the latest chapter of Cliffhanger, the Serial Talk Show. We want to thank our special guest, Mr. Bill Necessary, Cosplayer Supreme. I want to say thank you for joining us on behalf of myself and Mr. Patrick Bennett. Hope you guys can check out the next chapter with us of Cliffhanger, the Serial Talk Show. Thanks for watching.
Y'all later.
Thanks for having me.